Hello everyone, Matt from Model Minutes here, and welcome back to the workbench for another unboxing. Today I'm taking a look at this P-51C in 1/72nd scale from Academy. So join me as I get inside the box and see what this one is like. So here we have the fighter of World War II, the P-51C Mustang. Up here, top left, it tells us it's 1/72nd scale, and the artwork I quite like. Here it is in combat somewhere with a Japanese aircraft. You can see we've got a price on the box here, but we'll discuss that a little bit later on. Glue and paint are not included, and the actual product may be different from what is shown on the box, which is something I have experienced from Academy in the past. Coming on to the thin edge, we have an item code of 12441, and we have some dimensions: 132 millimeters in length and 54 in height, supposedly. On the other edge here, we've got some information about the kit, fully engraved panel lines and rivet details. We've got a detailed cockpit and landing gear, US Air Force and Chinese Air Force, I think, and underwing stores are included. And we've got some images of an example of the kit being constructed, which I quite like. I quite like that on the side of the boxes because it gives you a bit of motivation and inspiration on what to sort of aim for. On the other edge, another image. We've got a copyright date of 2012, but take that with a pinch of salt because copyright dates aren't always tooling dates. And we have an importer's note here from Bachmann. So Bachmann were importing this one. So let's have a look inside the box and see what we've got. I'm not going to dwell on some of this too much. We'll look at the instructions first. We've got some sort of standard warranty sheet. We've got some hints and tips on how to build the kit, and then a little bit of health and safety stuff. So we'll put that to one side. We've got another one of those, and then we'll have a look at the instructions. So the instructions, unfortunately, are painted in black and white, which is a bit frustrating. We do have all of our paint color callouts on the front here, annotated by numbers, simply white, black, red, etc. If we start opening it up, okay, there goes one of the sheets. Is that it? So it just sort of folds out. So the diagrams look to be relatively easy to follow. We start off by constructing our cockpit interior, and then we assemble our fuselage around it. We do have the option of two different kinds of engine exhausts, depending on the paint scheme we've gone for. You'll notice as well, very interesting, that the tail has to be joined to the back of the fuselage, and I think there's a reason for that, which I might discuss later if my information is correct. We can move on to join our wing surfaces together. We do have the option to open up holes underneath for our various weapons or stores, and then that gets added onto the model, and so too do our tail surfaces. Landing gear is constructed with the landing gear leg being glued to the door and the wheel, and then we can add that into the model. I believe if we wanted to display this with landing gear raised, we could by gluing the landing gear covers in place. However, I'm not sure that the tail landing gear bay could be closed without modification because it doesn't seem to have separate parts. It looks like it's molded in the open position. Naturally, we've not seen any reference of a pilot yet, so if there's no pilot, having a flying plane would look a little bit odd. We have our sort of vent here, which can be positioned in an open or more closed condition, and then we have our propeller. The propeller goes on to a mounting sort of point on the nose, and it looks like you could build this off the side of the aircraft and then add it later on if you wanted to, which may be more beneficial than the other Mustang I looked at recently from Academy. 1, 2, 3, 4 little clear parts which need to be glued into place. I don't know. Yes, we do have an open option. I was going to say I don't think we can display that open because it would need to be cut, but actually it comes with an open option, which is nice to see. And then we turn over the page. Step 8, we have options of rockets, bombs, or drop tanks by the looks of it. So you have a nice choice there depending on what you want to install. So it would appear that if you want to use the pylon, you can only pick a bomb or one of the drop tank types, but you could also include your bazooka rockets as well. So you could have one of those and that, but you need to pick as you go through. And then we come to our painting and decal placement schemes. So not in color, bit disappointing. You have to go through and check which colors you need from your color call out, which was on the front. But this is a P-51C of the United States Army Air Force in China. It has a number 4, which is yellow. It has a yellow nose and a yellow tail by the looks of it. And that may be the one that was on the box. I think it's that one there, 1078. Yeah, that's the one on the box. So the box artwork is the first one. And there's a sprue map on the back, which is always nice to see, just in case you have parts left over and you thought you might have needed to use them. But on the next sheet, we've got number 2, which is a P-51B. P-51B. I thought the P-51B had a slightly different canopy. I don't know. I don't know a great deal between the B and the C. So if there are any differences, they must be minimal. This one has slightly different colors. It's got a yellow, all over yellow tail by the looks of it, number 4, and it has a red spinner on the front. And this is one which was used in Italy in 1944. And then we flip over and we've got a Chinese Air Force one. So I was right. P-51C, which is olive drab upper and neutral grey lower. So yeah, three fairly different paint schemes, I would say, because this one's a little bit more vibrant. And then this one is sort of camouflage, whereas this one is sort of, well, the other one is a little bit more sort of generic-y kind of Mustang kind of look to it. So those are our instructions. Let's very quickly take a look at the transfers. And we have a copyright date on here, 2001. The transfers look to be printed to a reasonable quality. They don't have the finesse in printing as other brands that I've seen. So like your stencils and things down here, they're sort of like blobs. They're not really like legible text, which other companies could reproduce. The film doesn't look overly thick, but it is more noticeable than on other brands if you get the light to sort of shine through it. Registration doesn't look too bad, and the print quality looks okay. But as I discussed in the other Mustang I looked at recently, I haven't experienced these slightly different Academy transfers. I've tried like older versions and I found them thick and papery and I wasn't a big fan. So I'll have to see how these ones go. Generally speaking, doesn't look too bad, but I hope they apply to the model quite nicely. But that remains to be seen. So we'll put that to one side. And that brings us on to the plastic parts. And in another little bag, we've got our clear parts. So we'll have a look at those first. That is quite normal. There we go. So clear parts. We have our front windscreen there. The molding is generally okay. There is a small amount of flash in a few places and it doesn't feel greasy. The framework is a little bit raised, but not massively so. So it may take a little bit of care to mask or hand paint that. The rear windows are okay. And then we have our canopy choices. So this is what I was referring to. There is a more ballooned version of a canopy, and I feel like that was the B version. It was like more ballooned, but I may be wrong. I may be completely wrong. I know like the RAF had a version which had a more ballooned canopy, and then obviously there was a flat canopy as well. So I don't really know 100% the differences, but I feel like one of them was the B and the other one was the C. But someone let me know down in the comments what the differences are. For the paint schemes that we've got in here, I need this one, or I need to use the open canopy option, which has been included, which is nice. I think if you were using this one, you may have to just glue it in closed. I don't know, it would allow you to slide it back. It might not sort of bend the right way. Oh, just throwing it down. Right, so clear parts, not too bad. And then for the rest of the parts, we've got something loose, something to come off. Looks like a landing gear door has come away from the sprue. Not a major issue because it was contained within the bag, but it's there. Other than that, we've got 3 sort of olivey grey sprues, and the mold quality looks okay from what I can see at first glance. Not a great deal in the way of flash. Plastic doesn't feel overly greasy, and it's not too flexible, relatively hard. So on this one, we have our lower surfaces, some rivet detail on there, quite crisply molded. On the inside, there's a little bit of dirt. There's a little bit of dirt sort of stamped into the plastic, which is a little bit unusual. Hopefully you won't see any of that though, because it's on the inside rather than the outside. The parts here look to be molded to a pretty nice quality. Details are relatively good. So we'll move on to the next sprue. So here we have our fuselage halves. So we've got our front half of our fuselage and our rear half of our fuselage. And yes, I was right. The tail wheel doors are molded in the lowered position, you'd have to cut them off and sort of fill the hole if you were going to do them in a raised position. A little bit annoying, but yeah, I think you can live with it. Seeing as there's no pilot, having the wheels raised would look weird without pilot in there anyway. Prop is included, and I think there is a little bit of detail on the inside here, which is quite nice to see. But yeah, so this has a separate tail surface, which I've not really experienced before. But you can see here it says P-51C late. So I wonder if this part of the frame is a separate insert which can be swapped out depending on which variant they are manufacturing, so that this can then be added to whichever version they are manufacturing. So there must be other tail options which can be swapped out or included in the kit to replicate maybe an early version. So yeah, I think that's why they've done it. It's a cost-saving method to maximize as many different variants as they can, but I wonder if this will leave a seam, so we'll have to see what that looks like when I build it. And then moving on to the final sprue, we've got our different exhaust types, our tail surfaces, and the upper wings with, you know, nice recessed panel lines and the odd bit of rivet detail. It's all right. The cockpit floor has even got some wood grain on it, which is pretty cool. And we have our control panels. We've got nice texture on the wheels. And the ejector pin marks are not on the wheel surfaces like they were with the other Mustang, which is good. Yeah, generally speaking, that doesn't look too bad. So I do quite like the look of the P-51C. I find it a very interesting aircraft, seen as, you know, everyone knows the P-51, but this is a slightly earlier variant where they didn't have the bubble canopy yet. So I quite like that. It's a little bit more interesting to look at. So 3 sprues, pretty nicely detailed parts, should make into a nice model. Clear parts, pretty good as well. Canopy lines, the framework it's okay. It could be masked. I think I may have bought some masks for it, or at least will buy some masks for it. Decals included are, well, they're not the best, but I think they might be usable. And then we have our instructions with 3 paint schemes included. But I would prefer this to be in colour, but they don't look like, you know, too difficult to follow. All of that comes contained within the box, which looks quite nice. It's part of the reason why it caught my eye when it was on the shelf in the shop. So £8.45, that's what I paid for it. Looking online, the sort of retail price for this is between £8 and £10, so that's a pretty good price for it. And for what I've seen inside the box, you know, it doesn't seem out of alignment with any of the other kits from other manufacturers of a similar quality. So, I mean, if the decals were slightly better and I had more faith in them, I would be, you know, pretty eager to start this one and have a go. Not sure which paint scheme I'm going to do. I might go for the Chinese one, green and olive on the top and light brown underneath, but you know, I might go for metalwork. I don't know. I haven't picked at the moment, so we'll decide at some point. So talking about the age of the kit, I know we had like a 2014 copyright date on there. That's not the tooling date. I have had a look online on ScaleMate. It would seem that, according to ScaleMates, and I don't know how true this is because you know, it's a sort of community sort of led website. It does make indication that this is potentially related to a 1988 tooling of a P-51D, but then potentially upgraded and changed in 1999 to be a P-51B/C. I wonder how accurate that is. I wonder how difficult it would be to go from a D to a B/C. I would imagine it was a newer tooling or a sort of bespoke tooling rather than a modification thereof. So at the very least, I'd say this is at least a 1999 tooling from the information that we've got on ScaleMates. When you think about what we've seen inside the kit, it's not far off what we would kind of expect today with our modern features that we like from, you know, our model kits, recessed details, not much in the way of flash. I think perhaps the only upgrade that Academy could make is in the quality of their transfers. But even then, with the price that this is retailing at, it does give other kits from other companies a run for their money. And with that, I think it's probably time to end this one here. Let me know in the comments what you think of my review and whether my assessment of this kit was fair. As always, quick shout out to my Model Club members who help to fuel my plastic addiction so I can share this with all of you. If you'd like to join them, take a look at the links in the description to find out how, and there is other information underneath the video on how you can support the channel in other ways if you'd like to do so. The best way, of course, is subscribing with notifications turned on so you never miss a modelling upload. Finally though, last thing to say is a massive thank you to you for watching this one, and I'll see you on the workbench again next time.